This is Hannibal from the HannibalTV.com with a wrestling news update for you. AEW has defeated NXT once again. They scored a 0.27 rating for AEW Dynamite to NXT's 0.16 rating. Both shows were down from last week. I'm interested to see when NXT is actually going to drop below 0.1. That should be pretty funny when they get below 0.1. In other news, Curtis Axel, who spent nearly his entire career in the WWE, actually all of his career in the WWE, from what I understand, he is the son of Curt Hennig, also known as Mr. Perfect. He was released today to add on to the number of releases that have happened over the past few weeks. Hello there to Anthony Shabbat. I'm doing good. Also, in relation to the David Schultz Dark Side of the Ring documentary, David Meltzer has confirmed that Hulk Hogan's story in that documentary, where Hogan claimed that Dr. D actually slapped Mr. T at a wrestling event in LA. Meltzer confirms that that is a made-up story by Hulk Hogan, like he likes to make up a lot of stories. Schultz was at the event. He did move from the dressing room towards the ringside area where T was seated, but Chief Jay Strongbow, who was the agent for that night, saw him moving towards the ring, and Strongbow and the police brought him to the back. Bill Anderson, who is a former wrestler, referee, and ring announcer, was backstage at that show. He has confirmed that they did hogtie David Schultz backstage, much like Schultz confirmed to me in the interview when David Schultz told me about it. But there was no physical altercation with Mr. T and David Schultz. There was no physical contact, no slap. That was Hulk Hogan's version of it, which was false. Now, Schultz did get released over that issue, and Meltzer has brought up that Schultz was already on his way down by the time that happened. Yes, he was wrestling Hogan here and there, but it was mostly on smaller house shows. He wasn't main eventing the big arenas against Hogan and so forth by the time he was released over that Mr. T attempted altercation incident. And Meltzer also pointed out that, and David Schultz also brought this up in my interview, he didn't try that hard to get wrestling jobs after that. He did work in Stampede. He did work in the Montreal territory, worked some in Memphis after that. But he may not have been welcome back in WWE, but he didn't try that hard to go to other territories. And Schultz told me that himself in my full shoot interview with him that you can check out on this channel. So it's been confirmed. The Hogan story that Schultz slapped Mr. T is a pure Hogan lie. Also, yesterday we were talking about the rumor that Dutch Mantel started that WWE might be selling. I did say in that story that Tony Khan's net worth was $9 million. Okay, I made a mistake. It's Tony Khan's dad, Shad Khan, that is worth $7.9 billion. Sorry, I said $9 billion. It's $7.9 billion, and I was saying that off the top of my head. So I didn't get it quite right, but I've looked it up, and Shad Khan's net worth is reportedly $7.9 billion. Vince McMahon's is reportedly somewhere around $2 billion, could be under that now. And Tony Khan is the son of Shad, and Tony is the president and CEO of All Elite Wrestling. I did do a full career interview with Marc Mero, a.k.a. Johnny B. Bad today. It's already up on my patreon.com/thehannibaltv Patreon site, where it's only $1.99 a month to watch my full shoot interviews ad-free before I put them up on YouTube. But I have posted 2 clips of that interview on YouTube. One about Sable cheating on him with Brock Lesnar when they were married. She eventually left him for Lesnar. And the other was his experience in the Brawl for All, where he fought Bradshaw as well as Steve Blackman. And I do think that if Steve Blackman hadn't got injured, Blackman probably would have won the Brawl for All. I'll get into some of your questions. That's about it for the news. Mark Dark Shadow says Hogan lies like a rug. German lady says Hogan is still the greatest of all time. Well, I wouldn't say he's the greatest of all time. Definitely not. The Rock is way more popular than Hulk Hogan, way far more popular, far more mainstream. And Steve Austin drew bigger crowds overall than Hulk Hogan. I'm not saying Hulk Hogan wasn't popular. He was definitely an icon, but I wouldn't put him as the greatest. But most people, I'll give you this, most people will put Hogan on their Mount Rushmore of wrestling. Hogan is definitely one of the greatest politicians, though. I'd put him up there with Triple H and DDP as one of the greatest politicians. Lowrider is asking for a shout out. He's a new subscriber. We're over 171,000 subscribers now. We're averaging like 1,000 new subscribers a day, which is great. We're at like 110 million total video views. Mark Dark Shadow, thank you very much for the tip. Mark Dark Shadow. Kerpal321 believes Dr. Death was the original Stone Cold. Tommy LeBlanc says, give me a T for Texas. I actually liked Texas when I was there a few years ago. I was driving through there on the way to Arizona, and I stopped at the Big Texan Steak Ranch in Amarillo and had a delicious steak. And I cut a promo on Terry Funk while I was there. Christian Wedding says, love your show, bro. Thanks so much. What's my favorite match of all time? Oh, that is a tough one. That is a very tough one. I'd have to think about that. I'm not sure if I have a favorite match off the top of my head. Johnny Boy says, ever get an interview with Paul London? Not yet. William Lynn said, greatest of his era is Austin. Stefan Zayfert, I always thought Hogan was overrated. Ulvaldo Ramirez, Hogan is a bit overrated. And I'm not, my main problem with Hogan is his lying and talking to people, finding out what a scumbag he is behind the scenes. I'm not saying he wasn't a very successful wrestler. I also don't like how he took so much from Billy Graham. Billy Graham did the ear cup first. Billy Graham did the shirt rip first. Billy Graham said brother first. Billy Graham said pythons first. Billy Graham could have had a great lawsuit against Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan treats Billy Graham like shit, never talks to him. When Billy Graham had a medical GoFundMe emergency, Marc Mero donated $500 to him. DDP donated. Jericho, Kofi Kingston, $0 from Hulk Hogan. So if I'm going to completely rip off somebody's gimmick, and Billy Graham also helped Hulk Hogan get started. He wasn't getting booked in Florida. They didn't like him in Florida. So Billy Graham kind of befriended him, got him booked in Alabama. So Billy Graham was a key to starting Hogan's career, and Hogan never really took care of him. So that's some of my main issues with Hogan. I'm not denying he was a draw. I'm just saying behind the scenes, I wouldn't trust him at all. John Means says he agrees with me about Steve Blackman. I mean, that guy is a monster, and he beat Mero in the Brawl for All just by sheer takedowns. And Mero was a boxer, not a wrestler. He was also outweighed by Blackman, but Blackman had good hands too. He just had a good technique there against Mero. The boxer, of course, double leg, double leg, double leg. And I'm surprised, as I said in my previous reports on Brawl for Alls, that more people didn't go for those leg takedowns. But some of them did. Actually, if you saw the Bradshaw match against Mero, Bradshaw did get a couple tackles on Mero, but Bradshaw was also being cheap in that match. Also way bigger than Mero. Hey, Hannibal, Tommy T says, who would be on my Mount Rushmore? Oh, off the top of my head, because I'm a massive fan of Haku, Billy Graham, Ric Flair, and Steve Austin, I guess you could say. That's my personal one. I know a lot of people won't agree with me on Haku, but and if I could add a fifth, it would be The Rock. Interview with Perry Saturn. Someone's asking, I don't think anyone knows where Perry Saturn is these days. Walter Sedske Jr., I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. You tipped me $1.99. He said, I just wanted to thank you for all your content, which, by the way, somebody actually tipped me $250. Crypto Spasm tipped me $200. His name, $250. Dr. Peter is his alias. So thank you, Dr. Peter, Crypto Spasm. You tipped me $250 this morning. Thank you very much for that tip. I'm going to put that. By the way, I spoke to Ricky Morton today on the phone. He's going to do a Skype full career interview with me soon. So I invest these tips in other interviews. I also have a Zach Gowen interview this weekend. I'm working on more and more. Did I like the British Bulldog? Someone's asking. Josh is asking me. Yes, I did. Rat Pack, New York City. If you had the chance, would I have interviewed Dynamite Kid? Yes, I would have. But unfortunately, in recent years, I mean, he's been very sick. And also, I haven't been to England since I wrestled there in 2008. German lady, would I interview Sarita, a.k.a. Sarah Stock? Yes, I would, actually. When I was getting extra jobs with WWE, she was also getting extra jobs. They ended up hiring her as a trainer and never a wrestler. But for a while, I was actually friends with Sarah Stock. We kept in touch. Zach Gowen, I remember him, Colonel Quayle says. What are my thoughts on Big John Studd? I was not a huge Big John Studd fan, but he fit in well with the characters of the 80s. So thanks a lot. I'm going to call it a night at that. By the way, we do have an Instagram at The Hannibal TV and a Twitter at The Hannibal TV and a Devin Hannibal. But I have started posting shoot interview clips on our at The Hannibal TV Instagram. So I suggest you guys join that. Interview Eric Bischoff. I've asked and he said no. So you guys should start harassing Eric Bischoff on Twitter if you want him to do an interview with me. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate all the comments and questions and tips. Thank you very much again, Dr. Peter. $250. You are the new record holder for highest tips.